What's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be going over my UFC 313 predictions and breakdowns. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting off the card, we got Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. This fight was made pretty last minute. I think it only got put together like a few days ago, so yeah, last minute addition to the card, but this is a pretty good matchup. I like this, and I'm going to go Chris Gutierrez by decision as an underdog. Chris Gutierrez only loses to higher level competition in the UFC. He's 9-2 in the UFC, and his only two losses are to Song Yadong and Pedro Munoz. Chris Gutierrez is good. He's underrated. He's technical. He's durable. He has way more experience than Castaneda, and he's only lost to higher level guys. I know the Pedro Munoz loss doesn't look great because it was in the middle of a Pedro Munoz losing streak, but it's still Pedro Munoz. John Castaneda has lost to lower level guys. Daniel Santos by KO. I don't know if I rate that too highly. Nathaniel Wood by decision. Nathaniel Wood's solid, but again, I don't know. Daniel Marcos by decision. Okay, not like a terrible look, but Daniel Marcos, I don't know if I rate him too highly either. His last fight with Adrian Yanez was very competitive. Extremely close fight. I thought he robbed Davy Grant as well. Daniel Marcos. I thought Daniel Marcos robbed Davy Grant. I thought Davy Grant won that fight. So I don't know. I don't know if that loss looks too great either, compared to Gutierrez, who was on an 8-fight unbeaten streak, lost to Munoz, won another fight, lost to Song Yadong, and then just won his last fight, his most recent fight. So I don't know, man. I just think Gutierrez is better. He's only really losing to good guys. I don't know if Castaneda is at that level where he's going to beat Chris Gutierrez yet. Chris Gutierrez is underrated, man. Say what you want about his performance against Song Yadong. That's Song Yadong. John Castaneda is nowhere near Song Yadong level. Like, Chris Gutierrez is underrated. He's pretty good. He's a really good fighter. I don't think he's top 10 level. I don't even know if he's really top 15 level, maybe. But he's really good. He's one of the better unranked bantamweights. Like, I think Chris Gutierrez is very underrated. I think he's better than Castaneda. He's more technical, more durable, way more experience, has only really lost to higher level guys. Castaneda has some lower level losses. I think Gutierrez is going to win. I'm picking him by decision as an underdog. Let's move on to the next fight. Ozzy Diaz versus Jordan Santos. Jordan Santos, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm going to call him Jordan. I'm going Jordan Santos by a second round TKO. I know he's not really like a KO guy. 3 KO wins, 4 submission wins, and 3 decision wins, but I just can't trust Ozzy Diaz's chin. I think Jordan Santos is going to put him out in the second round. Ozzy Diaz, he's been chinned in all 3 of his losses. And I know 2 of those losses, Mingyan Zhang and Joe Pyfer, those guys are crazy KO artists. They KO a lot of people. But still, like, even in his other fights, his chin doesn't look like amazing. But I don't know, man. I'm going to go with Jordan Santos. I just think he has the power to put out Ozzy Diaz. So yeah, the Jordan Santos second round TKO. Can't trust Ozzy Diaz's chin. So yeah, let's move on to the next fight. Myron Santos versus Francis Marshall. I was going to pick Francis Marshall as an underdog. I really wanted to, but I am going to have to go with Myron Santos by second round TKO. I could just see Francis Marshall getting too aggressive, trying to push a pace and getting countered by like a left hand or something from Myron Santos. Kind of similar to what Santos did to Con Offley and put him out cold with that. So yeah, I could see that happening. Myron Santos is just going to be levels above Francis Marshall in the striking. More power, more technical. The leg kicks are going to be there. And Francis Marshall, man, I don't know. I don't know if I can see Myron Santos just getting taken down and just controlled and dominated there. I do think Francis Marshall is better on the ground, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. I think Francis Marshall is going to counter him in the second round and put him out clean. Francis Marshall, man, I know he's good. He's improving. That's why I was considering picking him as an underdog. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think Myron Santos is going to put him out. The loss to Isaac Dalgarian got ground and pound finished. William Gomes beat him by split decision. I know William Gomes is pretty good, but I don't know, man. I've been thinking less and less of William Gomes recently, after some pretty mediocre performances. But yeah, man, I'm going Myron Santos here by TKO. He put Con Offley out bad. I think he's going to do pretty much the same thing to Francis Marshall. And yeah, Myron Santos by KO. Let's move on to the next fight. Alex Morono versus Carlos Leal. This one's pretty self-explanatory. I'm picking Carlos Leal as a lock. This is a pretty easy pick. If anybody's picking Morono, they're doing it based off of it's just a Hail Mary pick. They're just hoping for a big upset, but nah, Carlos Leal should win this one pretty easily. He looked great in his last fight against Rinat Fakhretdinov. You will see that it says loss on that fight for Carlos Leal, but if you go back and rewatch that fight, Carlos Leal won that fight pretty easily. He should have got the 30-27 decision win over Rinat Fakhretdinov. That is one of, if not the most blatant robbery in UFC history. That might be the worst robbery in the history of the sport. Like that was terrible. Carlos Leal should have won all 3 rounds, and they somehow gave it to Fakhretdinov. But that's what you got to deal with sometimes being a fan of this sport. There's going to be bad robberies. But yeah, this one's probably not going to be a robbery. It's going to be very one-sided. Alex Morono is slow. He's old, not really at his prime anymore. He's been losing a lot recently. He's lost his last 2 fights, one of them being to Nico Price. Losing to Nico Price in 2024 is kind of insane. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Carlos Leal got the finish here. But Alex Morono usually can survive. He's only been finished like a handful of times in the UFC. So yeah, I mean maybe Carlos Leal gets a finish, maybe he doesn't. The one thing about Carlos Leal is that he's probably on roids. I'm not gonna lie. So maybe if they did like some testing on him and he's like off roids now, he might look like a completely different fighter, but I don't know, man. He just looked too good against Rinat Fakhretdinov for me to pick Alex Morono to beat him. So yeah, I'm going Carlos Leal by decision. Let's move on to the next fight. Bruno Fajeda versus Armin Petrosyan. This one was a pretty tough pick. I was going back and forth on it, but I think I'm going to pick Bruno Fajeda by first round TKO. I just think he's a bad matchup for Armin Petrosyan. First of all, I noticed something. Armin Petrosyan is 6'3". Bruno Fajeda is 5'10". He has a 5-inch height advantage, but Bruno Fajeda has an inch reach advantage, I believe. So not only is Armin Petrosyan going to be in range when he basically, so let me break this down. If Petrosyan wants to land anything significant, he has to be in Bruno Fajeda's range because of the how the reach matches up. But since he's 5 inches taller, he's going to be punching down, which is going to leave him more open to shots over the top. And I think that's just money for Bruno Fajeda on the feet. Bruno Fajeda, he's not just this wild brawler. He takes his time and looks for the KO shot, which I think is what makes him so much more dangerous. Petrosyan is coming off of a knockout loss. We seen Bruno Fajeda lose his last fight to Abus Magomedov. He got taken down and eventually got submitted in the third round. But Armin Petrosyan doesn't really have the wrestling to go to, and if anything, Bruno Fajeda is the better grappler. He's the better wrestler of the two. So, yeah, I think Bruno Fajeda is the pick here. Petrosyan, he does have more output on the feet, and he is a more technical striker. So, if he can just sit behind like a kicking game and be very careful with picking his shots, because like I said, he's going to be in range punching down on Bruno Fajeda. Like those shots over the top are going to be money every single time Petrosyan gets in. But yeah, man, Petrosyan could win a decision, but I reckon Petrosyan's going to try and get in, throw volume with his hands, and he's going to be in Fajeda's range because Fajeda has longer arms. But he's 5 inches taller despite having shorter arms, so he's going to have to punch down while being in range, which is going to make him, which is going to be it's going to be a huge disadvantage for Armin Petrosyan there. Even though I do think he's the better striker, I think that just the way that the reach and heights match up, the fact that he's taller, but he's going to have to punch down and be in range. I don't know. I can just see Bruno Fajeda landing something over the top. So, yeah, I'm going Bruno Fajeda first round TKO as an underdog. Let's move on to the next fight. Joshua Van versus Ray Saruya. This is one of my most anticipated fights on the card for me, at least on the prelims. And, dude, I'm super excited for this one. Joshua Van, he's one of my favorite prospects coming up in the division. So is Ray Saruya. I'd say maybe Ray Saruya is up there too. Ray Saruya and Josh Van, probably my two favorite flyweight prospects. I've been telling people, man, Ray Saruya is super underrated, and I'm seeing people say Joshua Van, by whatever he wants. Joshua Van's a lock. I disagree. I think Ray Saruya can actually put up a good fight here. He's going to be a little bit longer than Joshua Van. He's going to be able to stick behind a jab, and the takedowns and creativeness of Ray Saruya's jiu-jitsu can cause Josh Van a lot of problems. Like Joshua Van, yes, he's really good on the feet. He's got high takedown defense. I think his takedown defense is like an 80%. So, like, yeah, that's pretty impressive. But in that first round, we've seen him get taken down and controlled in that first round before. And I think if Ray Saruya gets him down, the creativeness of his jiu-jitsu, I could see him submitting Joshua Van. But ultimately, I'm gonna have to pick Joshua Van. I think I think he will survive the takedowns mostly, and I think on the feet it's just gonna be a night and day difference. He's gonna be boxing Ray Saruya up, getting on the inside, mixing up body shots. I could even see like a late finish, but ultimately, I am gonna have to go with Joshua Van to win this one by decision. I am nervous about the jiu-jitsu though. The jiu-jitsu of Ray Saruya is super creative. He attacks a lot of submissions, way more than anybody else Joshua Van has fought. And dude, we've seen Joshua Van in that first round get taken down and controlled. We've seen it in the Cody Durden fight where Durden was able to get him down a few times and hold him down in that fight. We've seen it against Felipe Bunez, who was able to get him down a bit and hold him down a bit. Nothing like too crazy. The Durden fight was where he showed the most weakness. And Durden is a good grappler, but I don't know. Ray Saruya is just so much more creative. If he does get a takedown, I could see Joshua Van trying to like scramble and explode up, and Saruya just latches onto something like super weird and like unorthodox on the ground and submits Joshua Van with it. Maybe he rolls onto like an armbar or like gets like a darce or like even like a twister or some shit. I don't know. Ray Saru is really creative on the ground, which does kind of make me nervous about this fight because Joshua Van hasn't really experienced the high level jiu-jitsu yet. Like the best jiu-jitsu guy that he's fought, I'd say, is probably Felipe Bunez. And Felipe Bunez, uh, I don't know. I don't know if I rate Felipe Bunez that highly. He's solid, but like I don't know. And in that first round, he had Josh Van in some problems. Like I'm pretty sure he almost had an armbar attempt on Josh Van's. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure he almost had an armbar attempt on Josh Van, which does kind of scare me. But I do think Josh Van is going to be able to get this one done, defend most of the takedowns, outbox him on the feet, win a damage-based decision. Let's go, Josh Van. Picking him. Let's go on to the next fight. Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. This is the most retarded fight I've ever seen in my life. Curtis Blades is probably going to win this. I'm going to pick him by first round TKO. I just cannot trust a guy from a different organization to come over and beat a top five heavyweight, especially a guy like Curtis Blades, who's one of the more well-rounded guys in the top five. And dude, I just think he wins. I just think Curtis Blades is going to beat Rizvan Kuniev. I don't know. I see a lot of people saying Kuniev could beat him. Kuniev could, catch him, which is true. It's why I didn't put Curtis Blades as a lock because Curtis Blades' chin is a big question mark. I don't know. We've seen Curtis Blades get put out numerous times, but like, I don't know, man. Is Rizvan Kuniev going to be the same as like a Tom Aspinall? Is he going to be the same as like a Sergey Pavlovich or like a Derek Lewis or a Francis Ngannou or something like that? Like, is he going to be able to find the shots like those high level heavyweights? Obviously, Rizvan Kuniev, he has a win over the guy at the PFL, Renan Fajeda, the guy who Francis Ngannou kind of recently beat and showed that he was shit and had no grappling. And that guy was able to out grapple Rizvan Kuniev in certain moments. Not to mention, I should also say this: that fight actually got turned to a no contest because Rizvan popped for steroids. I'm pretty sure he popped for like four different types of PEDs or something like that. That's what I read. I don't know. I could be wrong, but yeah, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think Curtis Blades gets this one done. I can't trust a guy from another organization, let alone a fat blob named Rizvan Kuniev. So yeah, let me take Curtis Blades by first round TKO. Let's move on to the next fight. Bobby Green versus Mauricio Rufy. I'm seeing a lot of people overthink this fight, saying, "Oh, Bobby Green could get the upset." Bobby Green, I think he'd get this one done. No, this is a pretty easy pick. Mauricio Rufy's a lock. Just look at the way Bobby Green fights, and just look at the way Rufy fights. Like Bobby Green fights with his hands down and relies on his speed. Mauricio Rufy is probably going to be a little bit faster in this matchup. He's got extremely dangerous power, and he's got long, rangy arms, and he's really good with his counters. Who was the last guy Bobby Green fought that was just as fast as him? Dangerous power and long, rangy arms. Jalen Turner. I think you all remember what happened in the Jalen Turner fight. One of the worst stoppages in UFC history. Bobby Green actually looked like he might have been dead. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, Bobby Green could have died there. So I think we're going to see something similar with Rufy. Probably not as bad of a stoppage, but a similar sort of, he's just going to put Bobby Green out. There's like a 2% chance Bobby Green survives. I'm not going to lie. Like, literally the first round, Bobby Green's going to be doing the usual, dipping in and out, hands all the way down at his side, using the jab, using the 1-2, just trying to outspeed his opponent, trying to emote and taunt. And then I'm telling you right now, Rufy's going to counter him with something, and he's just going to put Bobby Green down. He's going to put him down bad. Probably like when Bobby Green, he's going to do like the brush off the shoulder thing that he did against Jalen Turner. He's going to try to lunge in for like a jab, and Rufy's going to counter over the top and like put him down or something. I don't know. I just see way too many openings for Rufy. Bobby Green, yeah, against like slower guys like Jim Miller or like Tony Ferguson, against those guys, yeah, he can kind of afford to just keep his hands down at his side and move in and out and just play that sort of game and taunt and fight like that. Against some faster guys like Jalen Turner or like here against Mauricio Rufy, that's not gonna work. Like it just isn't gonna work. I'm sorry. Like Mauricio Rufy's putting this guy to sleep. I see a lot of people like shitting on Mauricio Rufy's last performance against James Lontop. James Lontop is one of the most durable fighters in the UFC, and he was able to drop him and crack him multiple times. Not to mention the fact that Lontop was like way overweight. Like they had to make it a catchweight because of how overweight he was, and Rufy had to go back up after cutting the weight already, and he was still able to crack and drop James Lontop multiple times, who's already one of the most durable fighters in the UFC, let alone at a catchweight without a weight cut. Like that's a chin Ilia Topuria would struggle to crack. And yeah, man, Rufy, like I don't know, people watch that fight and think like, oh man, this guy got fraud checked, this guy looked terrible in that fight. He was whooping James Lontop's ass in the first two rounds, and he was just trying to go for the finish. That's why he gassed out in the third round. Bobby Green is not going to be able to take those same shots. Like I'm sorry, he just isn't. Like, are you guys forgetting that every single one of Rufy's other like wins are by KO? He's got 11 wins, 10 of them are by KO. the only decision is to James Lontop. And dude, that's nothing to be ashamed about. That's like having all KOs on your resume, and then your only decision is Max Holloway or Marvin Vittori or Cheeto Vera. That's what that's like. So yeah, I mean, dude, Mauricio Ruffi's got serious power. You guys are underrating him. And yeah, he's gonna put Bobby Green out. He's a lock. Easy pick. Let's move on to the next fight. Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Lucindo. I'm going to be picking Amanda Lemos as an underdog via split decision. I don't know, man. I just think she's more experienced and she's more well-rounded. I know Lucindo is a pretty good grappler, but she isn't really submitting a lot of people. And, if she was, then yeah, I'd probably pick her because Lemos, she has been submitted a few times, but Lucindo only has one submission in the UFC. So, and on the feet, it's going to be a night and day difference. Amanda Lemos is a really good striker. She has a lot of power for this division. And man, Yasmin Lucindo, we've seen her get outstruck before. She got outstruck by Marina Rodriguez in her last fight. She got outstruck in her UFC debut against Yasmin Iregui. She got beat up kind of bad in that fight. And I don't know. I don't know if I can really trust her to just get all the takedowns and just hold Lemos down without getting, brutally beat up on the feet. I think Lemos is just going to win a damage-based decision. Lucindo will probably get her down. She will probably hold her down at moments, but once it's on the feet, man, Lemos is going to be doing so much more damage, opening up cuts, knocking her down, and I just think it's going to be an Amanda Lemos damage-based split decision. Should probably be a close fight, but I'm going Amanda Lemos as an underdog. Let's move on to the next fight. Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This is going to be a sick fight. I'm super excited for this one, and I'm picking Jalen Turner via a first-round TKO as an underdog. I think he's an underdog. I don't know. The odds on this fight keep flipping back and forth, but last time I checked, Jalen Turner was a slight underdog, so I'm taking that underdog pick. I am not confident in this fight at all. This is a really, really hard fight to pick, but I do think I'm going to have to go with Jalen Turner. Ignacio Bahamondes is good. Don't get me wrong. He's very good, but I think Jalen Turner just does everything he does, but a little bit faster, a little bit more dangerous, and a little bit more calculated. I just think Jalen Turner's a better fighter overall. Another thing I would like to point out is that Ignacio Bahamondes, this is going to be the first time in his UFC career where he doesn't have the reach and height advantage. They're the same height, but Jalen Turner has a 2-inch reach advantage, I believe, or an 1.5-inch reach advantage, which doesn't seem like a lot. But then I bring up their stances. Ignacio Bahamondes stands kind of hunched over, leads with his head, and has a very wide base, whereas Jalen Turner stands much taller, much more composed, and he keeps his legs closer together, meaning that reach advantage is going to seem like a lot more because Bahamondes is just kind of hunched over, and he's not really matching the height of Jalen Turner, which makes me think two things. One, Jalen Turner is going to be able to get off the 1-2s and the right hands without being in range for Ignacio Bahamondes, which is going to be very beneficial for Jalen Turner and very problematic for Ignacio Bahamondes because he is not used to being hit while not being in range. That is going to be a big thing that he has to deal with in this fight. And also the next thing, the leg kicks are going to be there for Jalen Turner. With the wide base that Ignacio Bahamondes has, usually when guys try to kick Ignacio's legs, they get in range for Bahamondes. Turner's going to be able to kick the legs without being in range. I just think the range factor of this fight plays a huge role. The fact that Ignacio is going to have to be in Turner's range to hit him, and Turner can hit him out of Ignacio's range, is going to be very problematic for Ignacio because he's not used to that at all. Jalen Turner, I would say the same thing. He's also not really used to that, but he doesn't have to worry about it because he's not the one being outranged. He is the one outranging in this fight. So I do think that is one of the main things in this fight. Another thing, I know Ignacio is very durable, so you're probably wondering, oh, why am I picking him by first round TKO? Ignacio Bahamondes got rocked and hurt bad in the first round by Ludovic Klein, who is like a midget. And yeah, he's good, but he's not KOing all these people. Jalen Turner, all of his wins are by finish, and he's a very dangerous KO artist. I can see Jalen Turner, I can see them kind of measuring each other, kind of measuring the range, sticking their hands out in each other's faces, and then Turner wins out a 1-2 and drops Bahamondes bad or something like that. Again, very close fight. This is just my take on it. Both of these fighters are super durable, but I just think Jalen Turner is a little bit more dangerous. All of his wins are by finish. He has a lot of KOs. He even has a submission game that he can go to, but I don't know if he's going to need to. We've seen Bahamondes take a few people to decisions, like Trey Ogden. I know Trey Ogden's pretty durable, but I don't know, man. Jalen Turner, I just think he's more dangerous. He has more power. He's a little bit faster. He's also going to be the bigger lightweight. I know they're pretty similar in size. They're the same height, almost the same reach, but Jalen Turner is he carries more muscle, and he's a more built guy than Ignacio Bahamondes. I think he's going to weigh a little bit more in the cage, so that's also going to be a big factor. And Jalen Turner, man, he just doesn't lose striking battles. Unless you're Dan Hooker, who could just outdog him, or you're a prime Vicente Luque back in 2018, and you just managed to catch him. Other than that, his only losses are to grapplers. Moicano, Gamrot, Frivola, those are all losses because he got grappled. Ignacio Bahamondes does not have the grappling to go to. He's not going to be able to just grapple Jalen Turner. If anything, Jalen Turner's the better grappler here. He can go to that if he needs to. And yeah, I mean, I know he got outstruck by Dan Hooker and lost that fight, but like that was kind of just because he gave up because Dan Hooker just kind of outdogged him and outworked him. Ignacio Bahamondes does not have the same dog in him that Dan Hooker has. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Jalen Turner by first round TKO. If it does get out of the first round though, if there's some live odds, maybe Turner's winning the first round. If there are live odds, I wouldn't mind sprinkling a little bit on Bahamondes because who knows, he could just outwork Turner the next 2 rounds. But I don't know, man. I think Jalen Turner's a good pick here. So yeah, I'm gonna go Jalen Turner first round TKO. Let's move on to the next fight. Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. This was a really hard fight to pick. I was originally going to go with Gaethje, but I think I'm going to have to go with Rafael Fiziev. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can trust Gaethje's chin after that brutal Max Holloway fight. He took a lot of damage in that fight, got flatline KO'd. I know we've seen Gaethje come back from KOs before, but like, I don't know, man. This one was just different. He's getting old. He's almost 37. I don't know if he's going to be able to come back from another KO loss, like a third time. He's done it twice before, and you know, who knows? Maybe he could do it again, but I don't know, man. I think this might be it for Justin Gaethje. Honestly, I think Rafael Fiziev is finally going to get his top contender match. He's finally going to find his way into the top of the rankings. And man, it's been a long time overdue. You know, the injury really set back Rafael Fiziev, kind of hurt him a lot. But see, and that's the thing. Like he had a really bad leg injury. Like Gaethje's leg kicks might do a lot more this time. And Fiziev does slow down, but it is a 3 rounder. So I don't know. I think Fiziev can win the first 2 rounds, and then Gaethje probably wins the third. But dude, I don't know, man. Fiziev, he's a lot more durable, especially at this stage in Gaethje's career. I think he's going to be faster than this version of Gaethje. You know, Gaethje, we've seen him kind of slow down a little bit. Not too much, but we have seen it a little bit. Fiziev, he's been training. He's been looking for a fight. He wants to get in there. He wants to make a comeback statement. He wants to get a win. I really don't want to see Justin Gaethje go on a loss. I really don't want to see Justin Gaethje go out on a loss, but I think we might have to. I don't know, man. It's going to be a great fight. I was really hoping the Dan Hooker match was going to stay going, but I don't know, man. When I found out that got canceled, that ruined my day. I'm not going to lie, but this is still a sick fight. I think Fiziev, he's going to be working the body. He's going to be working the legs. He's going to be landing some huge shots to the head. And I don't know if Gaethje takes the shots the same as he did in the first fight. So yeah, man, I don't know. I'm going to go Rafael Fiziev. I think his shots, compared to the first fight, Fiziev's shots are going to be doing a lot more. I think he will drop Gaethje this time, maybe even finish him. And Gaethje, man, he's slower. He's older. He's taken a lot more damage since that fight. And I don't know if he's going to be able to keep it up. I don't know if he's going to be able to handle it. So yeah, I'm going to go Rafael Fiziev by a 29-28 unanimous decision. Let's move on to the main event. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Finally, we are going to see this fight. I've been waiting for this fight for a long time. Super excited for it. It's going to be a close one, and it's really hard to pick. But I think I'm going to have to go with Alex Pereira via a third-round TKO. Magomed Ankalaev, I was originally going to pick him, but I don't know, man. Something just tells me Pereira's here to stay. Something just tells me Pereira's going to win this fight. He's got too much momentum, and I don't know, man. Ankalaev, his last fight against Alexander Rakic didn't really impress me that much, I'm not going to lie. I was not too impressed with Ankalaev's performance there. Even though he did win, he did outstrike him pretty cleanly. There was a lot of moments where Rakic was countering him, landing good kicks, landing good shots. And I don't know, man, like if Pereira's in there landing those same shots that Rakic was landing, I don't know if Ankalaev takes those shots the same. Pereira hits way harder than Rakic. And another thing I noticed was that Ankalaev was dropping his hands quite a bit when he was on the inside, which led to Rakic landing quite a few left hook counters. If you put Pereira in there instead of Rakic and Pereira lands those left hook counters, he's going to put Ankalaev down. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't know if Ankalaev's taking those same punches from Pereira. And I'm seeing a lot of people bring up the fact that because Ankalaev is a southpaw, it's going to be a lot harder for Pereira to use those low kicks effectively. I don't think Pereira really needs to use the low kicks, even though I think he can, even though I think he's been training for southpaw low kicks, and he's going to know how to land them on Ankalaev this time. I don't know. I don't think he's going to need them. I think he's going to be going more towards the body and maybe to the thigh instead of to the calf. And he's going to be setting up switch head kicks, and he's just going to be pressuring Ankalaev. And dude, that's another thing. In the Rakic fight, every time Rakic got hit, he would just back up. When Pereira gets hit, he wants to get that shot back. He pushes forward, and this isn't 185 Pereira who got slept by Izzy. 205 Pereira has a different chin. This guy's durability is really good, and even though I think Ankalaev will land some counter shots, he is going to be able to counter Pereira as he's pushing forward. I don't know if he's going to like put him down or put him to sleep. I don't know. Pereira is just, he's durable at 205. He just is. His chin looks super good. He was taking clean shots off of Yuri, and yeah, man, Ankalaev, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to deal when he's getting pushed back, because usually when Ankalaev hits somebody, they kind of walk backwards. They kind of get on the back foot. Ankalaev starts walking them down. Pereira's not going to let that happen. Pereira's going to be the one pushing forward. And you guys probably know it's a lot harder to shoot takedowns if you're on the back foot. It's a lot harder to be explosive. It's a lot harder to time your shots better, time your shots well. And even then, Ankalaev has a 30% takedown accuracy. Like, yes, he has the wrestling in the back pocket, but like, does he? Like, we don't really see Ankalaev use that wrestling, and when he does, it's not ever that effective. Like, yeah, he out-grappled Jan a bit, but, like, it's not like he's this, like, insane Dagestani wrestler. So, yeah, man, I'm going to have to go with Alex Pereira. I think the main thing Ankalaev has to do is just find his timing with the straight punches. We know Ankalaev has fast, solid, effective straight punches, and we know Pereira can be susceptible to those sometimes. We watched Khalil Roundtree have some success in their fight with the straight punches. He was catching Pereira because he was fast, and he was hitting the straight punches. I think Ankalaev can do something similar. But the longer Ankalaev stays on the feet with Pereira, the more susceptible he is to getting KO'd. Pereira is going to outstrike him. He's going to land the harder shots. He's going to hurt Ankalaev. The low kicks, just body kicks, the switch head kicks, just he's way more dynamic than Ankalaev on the feet. He's going to be mixing it up way more. Ankalaev has to take this fight to the ground. And I don't know if he can do it effectively enough to win. He's got no submission ability. He does have good ground and pound, but he has a 30% takedown accuracy. And that's, he just doesn't use his wrestling that much. He just doesn't. He's way more of a striker, doesn't really wrestle that much, and even when he decides to wrestle, he only takes people down at a 30% accuracy. So, like, I don't know, man. This isn't like a Bilal Muhammad Leon Edwards situation. This isn't like a Dricus versus Izzy situation. This isn't a Marab versus a O'Malley situation. This is a striker versus a striker. One of the strikers can kind of wrestle, but not really, and I don't think they're going to be able to wrestle enough. Pereira, especially since Ankalaev is going to be on the back foot most of the time, it's going to be a lot harder for him to explode into takedown attempts. I'm sure Pereira has been working on his takedown defense, and I don't know, man. I just think Pereira gets it done, man. Another thing I want to point out is the cardio. Like, Magomed Ankalaev has no 5-round fight experience. Pereira has been to the 4th round with Roundtree, where he finished him, and to the 5th round with Izzy, where he finished him. Pereira has 5-round finishing ability. We don't know if Ankalaev has that same cardio. He probably does, but I don't know. It's still a question mark. It's still something to be discussed. We know Pereira can go 5 rounds. We know he has good cardio. We know he can finish people in all 5 rounds. And Ankalaev, we don't know that. Maybe he looks good in the first 3 and then just gasses out in the 5th and gets TKO'd. But yeah, I'm going to go with Alex Pereira via a 3rd round TKO. That's going to be it for the prediction video. This one was a lot longer, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the longer video. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.